we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Oh, we no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters, where we're going to bring you the news and reviews of your favorite brews. My name is Dan Baker, and I am joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
sometimes cheese fries might be better, and the demented and fermented
Wayne Baker.
Coffee Wayne Baker, indeed. We are somewhere for this episode that has both cheese fries and coffee and beer, as you may expect. Steph has cheese fries. We all have coffee. It's all delicious.
We haven't had beer yet.
I know.
I'm okay with that.
I kind of am too. I needed a coffee. This is a perfect way to start. But we're at Stolen Sun Brewing and I guess Roastery. Is that the
Roasting.
Roasting. Okay, that was close. But we have two guys at the table who are kind enough to welcome us in and spend some time with us. We have
Jonathan.
and
Travis.
gentlemen. Thank you so much for having us out here. This is great. There's a whole bunch we got to get to, but man, this coffee is just absolutely incredible. And I know I'm going to probably ask more coffee questions tonight than beer questions, so fair warning to all of you and everyone out there listening.
You know, as we were setting up and we got brought some samples of a couple of different coffees you guys have here, what I was thinking of is when we were at Current and we did the whole episode with cider.
Just cider.
We've been drinking beer and talking about beer for years, and we went there and drank cider, and none of us really know anything about cider. So we come here, and none of us are super knowledgeable at coffee, so we get to talk about something we don't actually know a whole lot about again, which is kind of cool and fun. Although I do want to drink the beer too, but it's going to be exciting. Yeah,
It's a packed Friday night. A lot of people here enjoying everything they have. For everyone out there in podcast land, don't forget that you can follow all of our fun and exciting shenanigans at Beer Busters, Twitter and Instagram. Beer Busters Podcast on the Facebook, also beerbusterspodcast.com, 805-991-BEER. Still going to beat that dead horse, 805-991-2337. And
in case you don't know, that's a phone number.
Yes.
That you can call.
People don't make phone calls anymore.
Well, you can text us too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you can
that's
text
the
us too.
preferred method, if I'm going to be totally honest. I'm a millennial, for God's sake. And, of course, Patreon. Patreon.com/BeerBusters, where this episode is more or less brought to you by the patrons who've been kind enough to follow along so far. New mixer.
Yeah, it's
new
awesome.
audio equipment. It works. It's small. There's flashy lights. It's small.
It works. It's small and has flashy lights.
It looks really cool. So far, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
This is the inaugural episode of
Yeah.
it with a new... but yeah, thanks to our patrons. This is all possible because of your generous support on Patreon. We really beat the crap out of that old mixer.
We really did.
It was getting a little...
I feel like we gave it a lot of shit off air, and it doesn't deserve it. We just used it really heavily in a way it's not necessarily designed to use.
We kind of did. We may have left it in a trunk in the winter once or twice.
And summer.
But yeah, thanks to patrons, we were able to do stuff like this to keep improving the podcast. So if you want to get in on that action, patreon.com/beerbusters.
So not only do you get the pleasure of giving us money, but you get things in return. You get last call. There's a special Patreon-only feed that we just post behind-the-scenes stuff on Patreon. And I know we've said this a lot, but there is actually planning that is happening for new rewards and behind-the-scenes stuff.
Things are in the works.
Yeah.
There's an upcoming basement recording, too.
There is an upcoming basement recording. That is a...
Only patrons get invited to basement recording.
Yes, that is another benefit of being a patron. Well, we've rambled on about everything in the pre-show stuff, so we are going to... do the news. Hey, Wayne, you'll be excited that there's a sports one involved.
Yay, I'm so excited.
This is actually pretty cool. It's not so much sports related as what happened during the game. So the article starts off. It's from the Kansas City Star. Kansas City can take pride in a number of things, including barbecue, Patrick Mahomes, great museums, and, of course, barbecue, as they've already said. They should also add sports announcer Kevin Harlan to the list. Harlan, who is a grad of KU, lives in Mission Hills, is equally adept at broadcasting NFL and NBA games, and he's even made a fan running on the field in one of the great calls in recent memories. On Thursday night, as of this recording, he added to the list of non-traditional calls during a Celtics-Bucks game.
Shooting, and there's a throwaway. Morris into the crowd, spilled the beer. And will they cross the line? They do. Morris is dripping with beer. Pat stole style or some Schlitz, maybe. Who knows?
Schlitz, maybe. Who knows?
Beer in the pour, and it's in the guy's hair. It's in the guy's hair. Your Bledsoe with a three. No. Beer is every place. Some of the Miller High Life spilled on the floor.
Wow.
So there you have it. One of the players was going after a ball that was going to go out of bounds, ran into a fan, spilled his beer all over him. Of course, he's a courtside front row fan. So
I'd like to vote that whether it's this episode or a future episode, we need to title an episode "Beer is Every Place."
Beer is every place.
Beer
I like
is
that.
every place.
I like that a lot.
But it's a lot of good, like, shameless plugs going on.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's-
Yeah. All those brands got,
Yeah.
what, Miller High Life, Schlitz, PBR was in there. So kudos to Kevin Harlan for making that call on the fly. It's very out of left field. Wrong sport, I know, but the metaphor applies. For fans of Breaking Bad.
Okay,
So
I like Breaking Bad a lot more than basketball.
I figured that would appeal to more people at the table. So obviously, and this, I don't mean to start it off with kind of a negative light, but remember when Sony went after Breaking Bud?
Yes.
And they had to cease operations on that beer? Mm-hmm. Well, Sony is getting into the beer game for Breaking Bad.
Oh, jeez.
Themselves.
that
might have
explains
been
a
the
lot.
long game. So Breaking Bad has a movie that is coming out.
I heard about that, yeah.
it's Aaron Paul supposedly going to be the story after all of that happened, after the finale, which I'm excited for. But they have trademarked officially the name Schraderbrow, which was mentioned as a throwaway in the show.
Yeah.
What Hank Schrader brewed in his garage. So it's unclear exactly what they're going to do with it, but they also appear to be planning some other branded merchandise like glasses, bottle openers, and clothing. So there may be a beer involved, or it could just be marketing for the movie in the form of all this
so
swag.
they've just basically trademarked or whatever that name.
But it seems like it's more or less one person has a quote-unquote source that is saying that it will be beer, but I don't know where they're going to brew it because Sony isn't a brewery, so they have to...
No, they'll collaborate with someone.
yeah,
Oh, of course,
Sony,
yeah.
they can get anybody to brew what they want.
That's
I
true.
mean,
That's true.
They're a giant corporation.
But the whole thing that kind of threw this into motion was on February 6th, Dean Norris, who plays Hank Schrader, released a video of himself in what appears to be a brewery hyping Schraderbrow as brewed to silky perfection. So he's involved in the marketing of this as well since he was Hank Schrader. That's all I really saw in the world of news.
Everybody has a beer now. There's a beer for everything.
Everybody has a beer. There's beer every place.
Beer is every place.
Yes. So that brings us back to where we are. We're still in Sun. Super excited to be here. It's, like I said, it's a hopping night. Everybody seems to be happy. The coffee is incredible, and I feel like I've cheated myself in my coffee drinking years by not having coffee this good. So thank you for that. So I guess we should probably start at the beginning. Why a brewery and a coffee roastery roasting?
I say, why not?
I mean, that's
Good
a
answer.
good answer. But it's not something you see a whole lot of. I mean, everybody loves coffee. Everybody loves beer, more or less. Normally, if you like one, you like the other. But they're rarely together like this. It's a really cool idea.
Well, I mean, it's two things that I'm ridiculously passionate about. I spent about 12 years in the 90s when craft breweries were microbreweries, kind of running and building breweries from Hawaii and California and Pittsburgh. And at some point, I went into corporate food manufacturing and ended up at a ginormous roasting plant where I built a roasting plant for a company and really got into coffee. And so it was about then I decided, hey, it's time to start my own thing, and really love coffee and really love beer, and this gives me a platform to do two things that I love.
Awesome. Can we talk for a second about the coffee we're actually drinking right now?
Yes,
I think
please.
we should.
I think we should start with that because I think we're going to see a lot of this passion come out. So we have the Gustavo and Unicorn Tears.
Unicorn Tears.
Correct. Why don't you tell us a little bit first about Unicorn Tears, because so far I'm really loving this
Yeah,
one.
so we kind of just came up with a little brand for some very rare coffees where there may only be a handful of bags in the world. And a lot of times I like focusing on the actual, coffee is a piece of fruit. It comes off a tree. Looks like a Bing cherry almost when it's at origin. And it's kind of how we get the seed out of the fruit where it brings in all the delicious flavors of coffee. So Unicorn Tears is, just kind of a great play on words to really bring out some very rare coffees. The first one was a Yirgacheffe coffee from Yirgacheffe. And this is a Kenyan coffee. It's a Kenyan AB from Kaliluni. Lots of great red raspberry and lemon and just a delicious sweetness. I roast the coffees generally light to medium light here, and that's kind of where I like the coffees. And the reason is I really want to bring out the fruit flavor in coffees and what I believe is the best part of coffee.
Now, when I started drinking coffee, a lot of times, maybe I just hung out with the wrong people, but if you were drinking a light blend of coffee, you were pretty much a pussy, that the cool people drank the dark roast.
Is that why you bullied me into drinking black coffee?
Well, no, it has nothing to do with black. I've always consumed black coffee, but I always drank dark roast.
You're right, though.
Like,
There is
that's
that
the cool
sort of
stuff to
impression,
drink.
or at least there used to be that
But
that
while
the
we-
dark roast was like.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, you always hear people say, oh, I like that really good, thick, robust coffee. But just as Americans, the same way, people love light lager beer. It's what has been ingrained in your head of what is actually good. So
But you had mentioned before we started recording that actually the lighter roasts are better because you get more of the nuances.
Well, I believe
and
they're
those,
better.
Those creative. And I believe you because I'm drinking this and I'm getting that raspberry
and you get amazing
but yet
fruit,
I'm
citrus.
I'm so satisfied by this though. I always had in my head if it wasn't a dark roast, it wasn't going to satisfy me. It was going to taste watered down, and this does not taste watered down.
Well,
at all.
And part of it is, I always kind of think the difference between brewing and roasting is brewing is really a process of blending a lot of different ingredients together.
Yeah.
Where in roasting, it's one ingredient that we use, and that ingredient is grown in very small family-run farms. It's plot by plot. There's really no ginormous farms out there. It's really, most coffee you drink today is all hand-picked. So the lighter coffees you may have drank before may have just been, not high quality.
Crappy coffees.
Coffee.
Yeah.
And so it probably didn't taste good. These coffees, not only am I going to origin in a lot of cases and actually going to the farms, finding the exact coffee that I want to bring back, it is very specific to exactly what we want our coffee to taste like here. And it has, amazing citrus flavors. I'm a coffee grader myself, so when I go to Origin, we cup coffees, we grade coffees, and depending on what my palate likes is what I buy. And that's kind of how the process works, but it's all very specific to the seed and where it's grown and its terroir and the altitude and the climate. It's very much like wine.
I was just going to say, it sounds a lot like wine.
Extremely, and a lot of folks think the coffee just comes and it's, black.
Right.
But it passes through so many people's hands by the time it hits my hands. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about coffee. It's really about people. And when you go to Origin, you see that you're there with farmers and their families have done it for their lifetimes and their kids. It is amazing to actually see the land that it's grown on, the people that grow it, and just to be part of the experience. And when I roasted, I visited Colombia, I was at the farm where the Finca El Retiro, where the Gustavo's from. And it's an amazing piece of land, but what's even more amazing is the memories I have. And so as I'm roasting, I'm actually trying to make sure, I know they only grew so much coffee, so the last thing I want to do is ruin what took them, a lot of work to get to my door.
So help me with the correct vocabulary. Would we call this a blend, a style, a roast?
This is a single origin coffee.
So this coffee.
It's almost like having a single hop beer. It's
Okay.
It's one bean from one farm.
So if you get this bean again.
I'll never get that bean again.
Okay, well,
I
that's
think
my question.
maybe a better way to look at it might be like a single barrel batch of bourbon or something that's, that specific, batch aged that specific time in that specific place.
So next time, it's going to be completely different.
Well, and the cool thing is, since I went there last year, this year he's going to be growing crops again, and I'm going to get, dibs at what he actually grows. So year in and year out, I'm hoping to have this coffee, but it will change depending on the climate, and it's an agricultural commodity.
Right, and just
changes.
like hops do. Hops
Absolutely. Yes.
every year are different.
And this is, because this is the only ingredient we get to play with, it's very specific to the season, the growing patterns.
So this is a single origin, so it's one specific bean. Are all of your coffees that way, or do you blend some as well?
We do a couple blends, so The single origins we generally do on our pour-over system. We also do some traditional drip coffees, which we roast a little bit darker, so more like medium. So we have a medium blend, which we use a couple beans in. And then we also have a blend we call Hello Darkness. So coffee is as you roast coffee, you go through 2 cracks. The first crack is kind of all the moisture coming out of the bean. And the second crack is actually the beginning of the coffee carbonizing. So when you drink like extra dark coffees, you're literally like drinking a carbonized bean. So our Hello Darkness is taken out of the roaster right as that second crack occurs. So it's getting the good qualities of a medium roast and a dark roast. You know, still has a big body, still has sweetness to it, but just extremely drinkable, not necessarily having to put cream, but if you do cream and sugar, it's the coffee that actually lends the body to having cream and sugar. And, and that's, our coffees, I always tell people, hey, people always want to reach for cream and sugar. They're used to drinking these like highly bitter, astringent coffees that are, because you're basically drinking charcoal. So, the cream and the sugar runs well. So I got to kind of, while we've been open, we've been trying to train our customer to say like, hey, drink it first, try it. Because as you can taste, there's so much like citric acidity and malic acidity in this that if you put milk in it, it's almost like putting milk into orange juice.
Yeah.
Not so great. So, but that's what people are used to. So I'm not going to not allow people to put cream in their coffee. I want to sell coffee.
Ban cream.
Well, that's
from
the
building.
first thing Rich said. He tasted it. He puts so much cream and sugar
Yeah.
in his coffee, and he's like, "Oh, you don't need to put anything in this." So for him to even say that,
Yeah.
So, and the cool thing with roasting is we go through the same. You hear like Maillard reaction was. You hear that in brewing also as a lot of the sugars start caramelizing. The same thing happens in coffee, and at some point you go through these Maillard reactions, and then at some point once you start roasting past that second crack, you start destroying all the sugar. So we're maintaining all the sugar in the coffee from our roasting process.
Is it true the more you roast it, also the amount of caffeine decreases?
I was going to ask that too, because
Because
I
I
had
like
heard that along
darker
the way.
roasts are technically, they might taste stronger, but they technically have less caffeine. Is that true?
Yeah, like caffeine's really not created nor destroyed. It stays in the bean. The
Okay.
difference is, it's kind of a long story, but if you weigh each bean has the same amount of coffee. The longer you roast, the bigger the bean gets and the lighter it gets.
Mm-hmm.
So if you scoop coffee and you use dark coffee, you get less beans.
Right.
If you
okay.
weigh coffee, you get more beans because they're lighter. So depending on if you weigh it or you scoop it.
Right. So the actual amount doesn't of
Yeah.
caffeine present doesn't change. It's all in the way that you.
It's
how much
not
you
a
use to brew
major
it.
difference.
Yeah.
So just drink what you like to drink.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty much.
so you mentioned the blends that you have. Do you, or any coffee connoisseur, do you blend coffees just to get consistency? So if people come to your establishment and order a certain coffee, it's typically the same flavor all the time? Is that why people blend?
And it would be a reason why people blend. In our instance here, I don't really find it that important for our customer right now. The coffees are always good, and we get rave reviews on the coffees, and people love what we're doing here. My key is I'm always putting excellent coffees in all the blends that we do. So whatever it is, they're always going to be like, our Hello Darkness is kind of more my dark roasting style, more than like a specific blend. So when you drink it, you're going to have something with some good chocolate notes and dark chocolate notes, but yet still some caramel, sweetness to it. But as I like to play around with, as we do with the beers, we like playing around with these. So I'm always, for the blends, it's like, hey, like our latest Hello Darkness is a coffee from Burundi and a coffee from Colombia. So it just gives us a different platform to play with, and none of the customers are trained that well that they go, oh, this is a different darkness than before. They just have amazing coffee here, so like that's kind of important. If I was in a bigger roastery, yes, we would blend accordingly season to season and get the acidity or the bitterness, try to keep it the same.
So when you're tasting coffee, sorry guys, I have 7,000 million
That's fine,
questions.
no.
When you're tasting coffee, I know like when you taste beer, there's certain ways that you like smell and you open your mouth and you breathe in to get all the different nuances of the smells and the taste of the beer. Is there a process for tasting coffee to sort of experience those, or is it just drink
Yeah,
it?
so there is a standardized like coffee cupping process, and it starts with kind of smelling the grounds and then smelling the liquid with the grounds in it. And then we go through a bunch and we break the crust. So we're doing all this with the grounds in a glass already. And it's really a sensory experience. And then once we kind of break the crust that forms when we put the coffee and the water together, we then start slurping and spitting coffee basically. And at the different temperatures, you start to get the flavor and you start to get the more components of the coffee. And as you grade coffees, you start giving grades for different components depending on where they lie in the spectrum.
And now, as a consumer with it in my cup, how would you recommend that I now taste it so that I appreciate all those nuances?
I think it's kind of like a book. It's, you start when you taste it, and the first part is you get like the roastiness when it's nice and hot. Mm-hmm. But as it cools down, you start to really get the sweetness out of the coffee. So the coffees really bloom as they begin to cool, I feel, and you start to get a lot more of like the fruit flavors that you don't necessarily get when they're super hot. Same thing with beer. When beer's super cold, you don't really get a lot of the flavors. As it warms up, it starts to bloom a lot. So when it starts to reach that kind of room temperature is when the coffees start to get really interesting. But coffee's meant to be enjoyed from the first sip to the last, and that's why you have a cup of coffee. And by the end of the coffee, you should experience all attributes of the coffee.
That's true. So I want to go back to something you said earlier about caffeine. Caffeine is not created or destroyed.
Much like energy and matter.
Eventually going to get to that. Slogan I thought of in my head was, caffeine's like matter because caffeine matters. Like I kind of like that in my head. However, where does decaf coffee come from? How does that work? Because if the caffeine's all in the bean, eventually the goal is to get the same flavor in decaf, but it's not the same. But where does the caffeine go when you get to decaf?
So there's a bunch of different methods that are used, but basically it's usually some sort of media, whether it's a water process or a chemical process that kind of strips the caffeine out of the bean, and that caffeine ends up going into maybe like soda, or it then gets...
So the caffeine's still used?
It is still used, yeah.
I didn't think that was possible. That's pretty cool.
But there is some amazing decafs. I mean, we try to source them as we can, and people do ask for them. We don't sell a ton of decaf, but the decaf we get is usually very high quality decaf that, usually I know a good decaf if I cup the coffees and I can't really tell it's a decaf.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't know the caffeine could still be used in something else. I don't think I ever thought of where caffeine comes from before you said that. It just kind of existed. It was a thing that was in my life.
Comes from the heart of a star, just like all other matter.
True. As far as Stolen Sun is concerned, I mean, I'm sure we'll probably ask you more about coffee later. How long have you been open?
September 9th, I think.
Oh, so as of recording, almost 5 months, roughly. Over 5 months, almost 6.
Almost 6.
Math is not my strong suit.
It seems about 2 years.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Have you always wanted to do it in Nexton?
Well, this is our home. We looked actually for a good couple years for locations, and one place after the next, and working with townships and lawyers and spending all kinds of money with you name it. I ended up just getting fed up with the process, and we said, just get me into a place creating, because I've always, I genuinely love brewing. I love roasting. It's something that I'm ridiculously passionate about. And I've been a food engineer for over 20 years, so totally into the process, and not only the process but the engineering of it. And we just ended up saying enough of this. We told our agents, just get me some properties on the board. This one happened to be, I live a half mile from here.
Oh, that's perfect.
So we looked all around Chester County and ended up a half mile from my house, which was, this is the closest property we looked at. And it's a little small, but every square inch of this place is, if we go take a look later, like literally every square inch has a purpose in this facility. So it's super efficient.
I think it's kind of funny that you say it's kind of small because we've been to
Yeah.
some really tiny places.
Yeah,
I
that
feel
is
like it's
true.
pretty spacious. Now, this is, of course, we're just looking basically at like the bar and like the dining room area and the seating area. So I'm sure wherever all the brewing equipment and everything might be a little
The
more.
brewing equipment is back
little
there,
more
and there's big windows that you can
tucked
look in.
away.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
vaguely
Super
see it
cool.
from up here or from down here. Yeah.
And there's
But-
lots of lights flashing in the back there too.
I do see that. Yeah, it's like a
Party
little
room.
like a rave going on over there.
It
There's
gets
a
dark and we
party in
throw
the back.
discos back there.
Nice, nice. One thing you mentioned before we started recording was like you pretty much built out this whole building. You were saying there was no electricity, there was no plumbing, there was no sewage. So how much like did you have experience with that kind of work, or you kind of learn as you went, or?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of, I spent about 12 years in the brewing world, and then I spent the last like 10 or 12 or however many years in the corporate world, and a lot of the stuff I did was actually like building facilities or building process or working in a lot of like Fortune 100 sort of like food companies. So I had a ton of experience working with all of this. Never really doing it for yourself, so it's very different when it's,
It was just like on paper,
I'm
and
used to
then you're
having
actually
like a
doing
$30
it.
million budget, and here it's like it's my own checkbook, and it makes it a lot different. But we did as much as we could by hand here, and I was here for a lot of months building this out. And then at some point, Travis came on and Josh came on, and it was and our chef at the time came on, and it was literally like the four of us trying to figure out how we were going to open doors here. And we didn't really do a lot when we opened the doors, but we got all of our certificate of occupancy, we got the health department here, and we finally said, all right, we got beer, we got a kitchen, we got some people to work.
Let's open
Just
the door.
open the doors.
Open
yeah.
the door.
It was
Go
very
for
little
it.
thing,
Yeah.
and that's just kind of how it worked. And here we
Yeah,
are.
we've talked to a number of people that have like been involved in physically building out the brewery, and I feel like it gives you an attachment and an investment in it that you wouldn't otherwise have if you just threw a bunch of money at contractors and said
Right.
build me a brewery. Like it's not the same when you've actually sort of like seen it from an empty box to like what it is now.
It's insane. This place literally had nothing in it. I mean, at the very beginning, and if you go to like our Facebook page, like the very beginning of our Facebook page is me on a small digger, like actually trenching this whole place, like in the middle of the night with a camera going, this is where the kitchen's going to be, and this is where the brewery's going to be, and it's a bunch of piles of dirt, and it was, when we did all the digging and the trenching, I think at the time we thought like, we're done.
What did we get
And like
ourselves
9
into?
months later, we're still like going, all right, we got to finish painting. But like literally, it was so tough just getting trenching done. When we finished that, we were like, oh, the rest is going to be smooth sailing. And it was, a journey to say the least.
Oh yeah, I got here in May, and there was still a ton of carpentry and things going on. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, waiting for contractors to show up, and they would come, and then they'd leave, and then weeks later they would, maybe show up again, and and literally like I'm paying salaries and like paying contractors, and it was just a crazy experience, to say the least, for all of us here, and then with my family. I have two kids and a wife, and that's the whole business. We don't have any other partners. It's a family business. We were lucky enough to get SBA funding, and we pretty much have been able to do it ourselves. So it kind of, we actually control our own destiny here. We've made a lot of good investments. As you can see, we bought like great equipment. We have great facilities here. We've kind of like put ourselves in a position to be able to, we've engineered quite a bit in here, and people come in and they, for a first-time brewery, we have a lot of bells and whistles here, but we're hoping that helps us grow in the future.
Did I read that your son actually named the brewery?
My, at the time, 7 or 8 year old son, Zane, yeah.
That's awesome. How did that come about?
He, it was like a cloudy day, and he wrote a song about making the best of the day as the clouds were out, and, at the time, we were looking for a name, and he offered it up, and I started looking online. It was like, the website was available. It sounded, had good alliteration. And then, kind of made sense, for me, like I've been working for people all my life and like not always in the best of situations, in the 90s in the brewing world was like the Wild West and a lot. Like I was working for folks that were so underfunded and like building breweries at Home Depot and like all kinds of insanity. But like I made the best of that time. And even like working in the corporate world, I worked for some just terrible companies and some great companies. But like I made the best of it. I mean, I learned as much as I possibly could. And that's kind of like, that's the clouds. This is the sun here of me being able to actually like do what I love to do here.
Aw, that's so neat.
That is pretty cool. It's cool when we come up with a great name like that works so well, and then you Google it and it's not taken.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Well, you know what's really weird? There's like a weird like Russian old story called Stolen Sun, and it's a propaganda film for Russia, and it's like an alligator eats the sun, and the alligator's a sign of
you told us about all this one night, and we ended up drinking beer and finding it.
And then there's a bear that like starts like
yeah, the bear is supposed to be like the USSR and like comes through and ends up killing the alligator.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be like the US. It's aggressive.
Wow.
It's an aggressive cartoon.
Wow.
Yeah. Great communist propaganda children's
Right?
movies.
Yeah. And then the elephant eats the bear, and then what eats the whale eats the elephant.
Well, it's like watching the Grimm actual versions of the Grimm fairy tales versus the Disney one.
Right.
Exactly what it was like. It was real interesting.
Wow.
Great animation though.
Especially for the time frame.
Yeah, exactly.
If nothing else.
Yeah. Solid animation.
So Travis, you said you got to Stolen Sun in May. What's your role here?
So I do a lot of the day-to-day stuff in the brewery, as well as whatever they need. Do a lot of the maintenance. Occasionally help out with whatever I can. It's different every day. But
that's good.
A lot of the stuff in the brewery is
a lot of hats.
Yeah.
Your signature in your email titled you as Special Teams Coordinator.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I know what that means, but I guess that means you do whatever you need to support the team.
Whenever we moved up here, me and John started talking about both of us are big college football fans. I'm a diehard Texas A&M Aggie, and so we got to talking, and we were talking about like coaches, and I was like just jokingly started calling myself the Special Teams Coordinator around here, and so. I ended up never changing it on my email. Kind of forgot to. But
we all gave ourselves good titles.
Yeah.
Don't ever change it. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. I love anything that has a story behind it.
Yeah. I actually told my mom that I was going to be the special teams coordinator, and she asked if Doug Peterson was hiring.
Is that a sports joke?
That was definitely.
Sports.
He's the Eagles head coach.
Yes. I live in Philly, and I don't even know that.
Yeah.
See, the trick is you just have to know enough to get by in casual conversation.
Yeah, I can't
and then you're
even
good.
be bothered.
Then you're good.
Yeah.
He doesn't like to pretend.
Well, that is true.
So there's also beer here.
There is also beer, and I feel like we've talked a lot about coffee.
I know.
Should we try some beer?
I
We
think
do
we
have
should try
beer
some
with
beer.
coffee.
I figured, and
We
I
go from coffee to beer, and then beer with coffee.
Yeah.
The
This is
interesting
gonna be the
thing
perfect night.
is the Gustavo that you guys are drinking. We actually have that in our beer as well, so you'll be able to taste.
That's
awesome
actually
by itself,
my
and then-
favorite cup of coffee is the Gustavo.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
So by the magic of podcasting,
Yes.
I'm going to take a breath, and we're magically going to have beer in front of us.
What if the beer is just terrible?
Well, I mean-
this is the worst.
Remains
Then this
to be
will
seen.
the quickest episode we've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I'd be like, all right, mic's off.
We have a couple of flights of beer on the table at the bar.
Beer
We're at
here.
a bar, not a table. What do we have? What are we starting off with? There were 3 that were from draft and 1 from a crowler, and that intrigues me.
So I guess we'll start off with our Sunny Wheat.
Awesome.
It's honey wheat. We use orange blossom honey imported from Ocala, Florida.
Holy crap, you can smell it.
Mm-hmm.
Just smell it. And smell it and spill it.
Ooh, that does smell pretty good. I'm going to take the first
Go
sip.
ahead.
Ooh,
I now
that's nice.
smell like orange blossom honey.
Oh, did
I've
you
smelled
spill
like
beer on
worse.
Steph? Nice.
Thanks. Wayne.
And you didn't do the whole call? We were expecting the news call.
Beer is every place.
Beer is every place.
Just think of that phrase, beer is every place. Like, that just doesn't sound
every
right.
place is beer.
Every place is beer.
This beer is very good.
This beer is delicious.
So
it's so
you're
delicate,
safe.
yet
So,
flavorful.
Yeah, right.
What if the beer's just terrible? At least the coffee's good. No, the beer's really
Well,
good
at least
too.
the first beer is good.
Good.
We're on a good track.
So back in the 90s when I started brewing, honey wheat was all the rage. There was like Pete's Wicked. I even think Sam had a honey wheat. It was such a huge style. And when I started brewing in Tallahassee, we did a beer with some Florida Orange Blossom honey, and then I think later on in Pittsburgh when I was brewing out a place, I started making a honey wheat. So it's kind of a throwback to the 90s. Super clean, super crisp. We use Florida Orange Blossom honey. That comes from a single origin, a single farm. And we also dry hop this too, which actually brings some nice citrus notes. So, it's very clean. It's really that great introductory beer for folks that may not necessarily know what they want to drink. But it's also a great, like, you can drink this on a porch on a hot afternoon and be happy drinking nothing but this.
I could see that happening with myself and this beer.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And what normally scares me about beers that have honey is that it could be too much. It could be overdone, and it's just honey with a little bit of beer.
So you start getting into that like hard lemonade or hard
Yeah,
that
pretty
sort
much.
of like that kind of a drink category.
This is done so incredibly well. The honey's there. You get. I love that there's a little like citrus note from the orange blossom honey, but you can tell it is a beer that has honey. It's so perfectly done. I love this.
The aroma is just
Yeah. And you're right. You get a
it's
lot of
spectacular.
the characteristics of the honey without an overwhelming sweetness.
Yeah.
And the hop sort of citrus character at the end dries it
that,
up real
the
nice.
dry hopping
Yeah.
is subtle, yet it's perfectly
Yep.
balanced. It's a really nice.
And that's, completely on purpose to really just have a very, from start to finish, good drinkable beer,
Yeah.
a beer that anyone can really drink.
Definitely wanted it approachable. Definitely, great summer beer. When it came out, I was talking to one of our restaurant manager, our taproom manager, and we were joking about it being a great boat beer, and sitting on a canoe with it.
Is this your Kiss beer?
This
Keep it simple,
yeah,
stupid.
It's
it
not
would-
all that simple.
It's
of a
not
beer,
a super
really.
though. It's
Yeah.
not super simple. It definitely has some intricacies to it. But
And we've been slowly getting a lot of draft accounts locally, and this is one beer that people have been very happy with, and it fills a void on their draft list. It gives that customer that may normally drink some sort of big brand wit beer or
Yeah. It bridges the gap very well. Dare I ask, what is the ABV on it?
6%.
6%, yeah.
I was trying to wait for it to come back up on the screen over there, and right as I asked, it came back up. All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, this is one that I could definitely see myself drinking on a hot summer's day, just this, because it's normally people go for like a sessionable beer, 3.5%, 4.5%, but at 6%, this is more my style. It's a little bit higher, not too crazy. It's nice and crisp and clean. It'll go well with the warm weather. It goes well with the cold
I was
weather we
gonna
have
say,
now.
it doesn't have to be warm.
No, but I could see this being refreshing in all seasons.
Refreshing in all seasons.
I'm just chock full of
Also a
email.
candidate for
Can we
episode
use
title.
that?
Yeah,
Sure.
please do.
After a while, I'm going to charge you. That's all.
You know how many marketing ideas we've come up with
I
on this
know.
podcast?
We really should
We
start a marketing
a side
agency.
gig.
We
Yeah.
should start charging. Can I ask about the bar for a moment? This is so pretty.
It really is. Yeah.
This blue. Talk to me about this.
So, I'm originally from Florida. I grew up in South Florida, and then I went to school at University of Florida. We were able to find the boardwalk from Riverwalk, Jacksonville, when they took it apart. So this is old Southern pine, 3-inch thick, completely original. We worked with our friend Jeff at Penn Dutch Designs, and basically designed a bar. And we really wanted to make it look like almost being like the Stolen Sun, we have this sunshine thing. So it really almost is like a boardwalk. And when you see, we kind of put the boards in a boardwalk direction. And then there's a trowel down blue epoxy that's inside. And then there's a clear epoxy over. And it's a definite, it is unbelievable.
Was this like a I hope this works kind of thing when you were doing this? Or did you know it was going to turn out this awesome?
You know, the wood got delivered on the coldest day last year, and me and Jeff were like lumber by lumber stacking it. And at the time, I remember thinking, what the hell are we going to do with this? But somehow he figured out how to do it. And it is really the one thing people come in here and is, absolutely unbelievable.
It's gorgeous.
I also have to say, Steph, when you were asking about it, like I know you're intrigued by it, but the way you were rubbing the counter, it was almost like you were trying to touch the color. And I'm like, are you on
trying.
LSD or something?
I can feel the
colors.
Well, and it's so like the orange and the yellow and the blue, like the color choices are just so smart, and like it's such an attractive space to be in, and I just want to keep looking around.
Everything pops in its own way, and it kind of brings together for this like bright atmosphere that you have in here. It's great.
And the cool thing is we didn't have designers and all those. We just kind of, we wanted a place that looked like it was put together, but I also wanted like bright colors. I'm over the everything's dark and woody and
gray, like slate gray and
yeah.
industrial.
So, I want to have like a lively place. Plus, it kind of ties in the South and Central American flair that I hope we bring our coffee to this. So we're kind of like merging coffee culture and beer culture, and
you can feel like you could possibly be in like Southern Florida right now.
That is one thing I think that jumps out when you come into this space, like geometrically, if that makes sense. It looks like a brewery. You've got like the exposed pipes on the ceiling. You've got like the like second half story over there. You've got kind of seating you expect to see, but color wise, it feels a lot warmer. Like it's not that slate gray. It's not that industrial. There's not Edison bulbs everywhere.
That was actually one of it was one of like the big things that I was like, I don't want any Edison bulbs. Like literally,
Good.
we had at times people be like, "Oh, get Edison bulbs," and I'm like, absolutely not.
It's
We're
so
not doing
overdone.
it.
I'm pretty sure I said it like 3 times during construction, and they all resulted in dirty looks.
Yeah, not gonna do Edison
Like
bulbs.
it's a cool look, but it's everywhere. Like that's all anybody has, and it's like there's other kinds of lights out there. But yeah, it's very warm and inviting. I like it. As soon as I walked in, I was like, wow, this is cool. It's sunny.
Yeah.
Gee, I wonder why. What's next on the board?
Next up, we have our Brute Down. That's our take on a Brute IPA. It's going to have Idaho 7 and Mosaic hops. We went for something really dry, but we wanted to still have some body and still be a really hoppy, hop forward, as opposed to some that we've noticed have a little bit kind of like held back hops.
Yeah.
Right.
You get the hoppiness in the aroma right off the bat.
You really do, yeah. Like it has that almost like double IPA kind of aroma to it.
It's juicy.
Yeah, this is actually like my favorite. I love this beer.
It is delicious.
Nice. Yeah.
I think we find like people don't understand what it is.
Yeah. Well, it's
Like, in
still
the
like fairly
marketplace, it's
new.
really tough.
Yeah.
I really like that.
But
It is really nice.
I
yeah.
think like if we were to just call it an IPA, it would probably sell a lot faster.
It
but I think
would.
the whole brute thing, and a lot of brutes out there, like Travis was saying, like I kind of almost get them as like malt licorice, like very like dry and alcohol, but not a ton of hops. And I think we did a good job keeping like some nice, sweet juicy hops and keeping it super dry.
Yeah, for sure.
It's super drinkable.
Yeah.
I mean it doesn't feel like it's
7.4?
7.4
7.4 or 5, yeah.
7.4, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely it has that character of, like I said, like a double IPA, which makes you feel like, okay, it's a little higher in ABV, but it is really dry and it goes down a lot smoother than like the hop character would make you think when you first approach it.
Yeah, this is one that's really really dangerous. It'll sneak up on you.
Yeah, I can believe that.
And the other interesting thing about our brewery here is, and as you'll notice, like the beers are, they go from clear to hazy, but we have a centrifuge here.
Mm-hmm.
So, we invested in technology, so we don't filter our beer. We have a separator. And the nice thing is we're able to really dial in the clarity of the beers without having to go through a physical medium at all.
Right, yeah.
And we make very brilliant beers, but they're very clean, and the hop flavors stay very forward.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of numbers I obsess over. If you ever come back there while I'm centrifuging, I'm like bouncing around in circles.
Nice.
And he talks really dirty to it too.
Yeah.
He's actually,
She's my lady.
I gotta like walk away sometimes because it's
He blushes
you guys
and
alone.
it's
leaves
awkward.
the
It is very awkward.
That's the disco rave lighting. That's your
Yeah,
special
well,
space.
actually, when I centrifuge, I turned it to mood lighting, but
Oh,
on a
okay.
little Barry White.
or is that where you keep your Edison balls that you're hiding from?
Yeah. Those are actually in the cooler.
Oh, okay, fair.
Is the next one called Baby
I was
Juices?
okay. So I was thinking there was a segue to be made there,
Yeah,
but I feel like it might have been a little too dirty.
just a tad.
So
Well, it's a sessionable, juicy IPA.
What else would you think baby juices
Yeah.
were?
well, he was
I
talking
mean,
about making
it's,
love to the centrifuge. I
Oh,
mean,
I never said that.
Centrifuge? Centrifuge.
It was implied. It was implied. Too.
Yeah, it was a little implied.
It was
It's
the
a low
implication.
ABV hazy beer, so it's baby juices.
okay, fair. That's a lot better than
We
what I
got to
was thinking.
get our mind out of the gutter
Oh, well.
collectively.
Evidently so.
The best part is we had a big release party when this came out. So
Appropriately.
People like parties with their hazy beers.
Yeah.
They do.
So this one again, like super crushable. It's 4.9%.
Ooh.
Incredibly like juicy, and again we centrifuge this, so there's no solids floating around, but it's beautifully hazy. Very sweet, but yet just so drinkable. And I think we nailed this one.
I think the current landscape of beer has taught me to be afraid of hazy beers, hazy IPAs, because I kind of figured this would be like almost a lighter version of like a milkshake IPA or something that's like, hey, it's thick and overly sweet, but this has a good mouthfeel to it, and it's got a nice biscuity character to the back, which is a real nice welcome from what I thought I was
Yeah.
going into.
Well, and we don't need to retread our thoughts
Exactly.
on this style of beer. We've said it a million times. I would call this, for this category of beer, the mouthfeel is restrained. Like it's not super pillowy. It's not super soft. It's not milkshakey. And that's one thing about the style that I really don't too much like. But,
Well, we brew no lactose. We use a proper yeast. We centrifuge where we're able to actually keep the right turbidity in the beer, so we keep a nice hazy beer, but it's super clean, super drinkable. And yeah, you don't get stomach aches after you drink
yeah.
it.
It's good. I could see myself having a few of these.
You can drink them,
Yeah.
and it's a great sessionable.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like the one you drink at the very end because you won't be able to taste anything else.
Yeah, neither one of us are big fans of the super sweet lactose IPAs, and so this kind of is like moving a little bit away, but in the same vein, to where it has that juicy, fruity, sweet, but it's not like cloying sweetness. And not there's anything wrong with those beers, just they're not something that we're super into.
Right.
And it's fun to order, to go and say, like, I want baby juices.
baby juices, yeah.
And
It's also real fun to offer it to people.
it is fun to offer.
Hey guys, I brought some baby juices to the party.
Oh boy.
So while we sip on this one before we get to the next one, you have what, a 10-barrel system back there?
Yes, it's a 10-barrel alpha system. We can run it a little bit larger than a 10. It is a little oversized, but it runs effectively at 10.
Very cool.
2 10-barrel fermenters and 2 20s, and then we have 5 10-barrel brights and 3 20-barrel brights.
And how often are you brewing right now?
A couple times a week.
Yeah.
1 to 2.
Because you have, what,
Yeah.
16 beers on tap? 16 taps?
We've actually
We have 16
lost a
taps.
bunch.
We kind of hit a point where we had
So you
a
have, like-
large week and got a little behind, but I think we're at 8 right now.
Very cool. So
But
you have
we
to
had
brew.
like 14.
We
at
got
some
up to
point.
14 at one time,
Wow.
and I was real close to being able to get all 16, but it just didn't.
Did you find out that's a lot of different beers to offer as such a young brewery? Were you sort of like chasing variety, and do you feel like every single one of those beers was sort of like the best version of that style that you could produce? Or were you also, or like, did you kind of feel at any point like you were just filling in taps? Because I often wonder that with new breweries that have a huge lineup.
I don't think we were filling in taps so much. I think we were definitely offering a variety. I think we definitely represented the IPA segment a little heavier. That is, something we do in our, slogan up there. It's hoppy, happy, handcrafted. Hoppy beers are something that we're going to do more
And
forward
that's
on.
trademarked.
Yeah.
By
For
the way,
clarification.
Just so you know.
But we did try to have a variety. We want to do the best of everything.
right?
And I think as a new brewery trying to promote too, it's like everyone kind of wants the new beer. So, it gives you, everyone's on social media and it gives us reasons. Plus, it lets us kind of like break in the brewing system and kind of brew a lot of different styles. And, it's difficult to figure out the right mix.
Well, definitely.
Yeah,
Every
oh, yeah.
time you release a new beer, it seems like they become the prettiest girl in the party.
That's true. That's true.
There's a lot
so
of that
many
happens
jokes.
here, by the way.
So many jokes. I'm not going to say. So we have one more.
Yes.
For this round.
This is the one that came out of the crowler.
This is. So we actually ended up kicking this beer already. So this is the last crowler of it. And this
cool.
is our first take at a sour.
Ooh.
This is a kettle sour. It's a Goza that we did. And then we actually dosed it up, and the name is Sweet Tang.
Ooh.
Oh,
And that's legit what it tastes like.
There was
Yeah.
a layered ooh. My God.
the name is perfect. It's
Yeah.
sweet and then tang.
Yeah.
There's like an
Sweet
extra
tang.
effervescence that you're left with after it's gone.
It's like grapefruit in the back.
It's a really good in the morning. I've found it really
It's a
sets
good
your
winter
day off
beer.
It's a good
right.
A
breakfast
lot of
beer.
vitamin C.
Yeah, a lot of vitamin C.
Potassium.
Astronauts love it.
Yes.
Love it. Yeah.
No, endorsed by Buzz Aldrin.
So
it
we
tastes
actually
like a sweet
did,
tart and then like grapefruit
Tang.
in the back.
yeah.
and then
So
tang.
we actually did
And tang.
brew a Goza clean without anything added to it, and then we took that Goza and we actually recirculated it with actual tang in it. So it does have tang in it.
That's perfection.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and as a child of the 70s, when we were like, well, it was like, let's try Tang. And our clientele here, we're in suburbia Axton, so a lot of folks my age and that grew up with Tang, and it's been actually pretty popular for us. So it's
Nice.
probably going to turn into more of a regular staple here.
Yeah. As a child of
Is
the
that
90s.
is that single origin tang?
It is.
It is.
It is. And everyone loves Tang.
You can't go
Is
wrong.
what we
Yeah.
kind of find. And it actually like remarkably goes well with the sour and the sweetness.
It does.
It
It's
really
very
does.
delicious. Like
Yeah.
I can actually drink this, not that I do, but like all day. Like
Yeah.
I can come in the morning and it's actually a refreshing.
And it's only actually like 3.2%.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
well, it
yeah.
helps that it's like
Yeah.
around 3%.
Yeah, exactly. It's like 3.2, I think.
I don't drink a lot of liquids other than beer and coffee, and when I'm thirsty, I'll just drink. It's like juice, pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more or less. I like it. It is delicious.
It is delicious.
sure.
It is
yeah.
delicious. So we've got a couple of beers. I intentionally left some in the glasses here. Shall we move on to Happy Fun Time, Wayne? Do you
Is
think
it that
that's
time?
You think that's something we should do?
I feel like Tang is the perfect happy fun drink.
Cheers, Internet, and welcome to Happy Fun Time Games, a podcast trivia segment that happens between the beer and the adverts.
Literally.
Hey, guys, guess what game we're playing today?
Libation or fabrication.
I have some interesting stats for you, though. Can you
Ooh.
guess how many times have we played
Did
that
you
game
actually?
A lot.
in the
Oh my
history
God.
of the
Are you
podcast?
looking for a percentage
I'm
or a
gonna
number?
Say
I have both.
92.
92 times?
Yeah. Well, we've done this show 163
No,
times.
I didn't know if you were going percent because I would imagine it's a
These
very
guys
high
have no idea what's
percentage.
going on.
I'm going to take 87%.
87%. So what's
Really?
happening
Do
right
you want
now?
me to give a percent?
But no, you.
We're playing a game that we play a lot on this show. It's my favorite game to do, and I'm making them guess how many times we played it.
I'm gonna guess we played it.
60% of
I'm
the
gonna
time.
say 72%. No, 77%.
Ye of little faith. 34
John, you gonna
Really?
take a
That's
shot?
it?
times.
Oh,
I was gonna
times.
go
We
with
have played
one.
pure libation or fabrication 34 times.
Wow. No.
No.
That's what I said too, but I double checked. It's true.
Oh, I
Does
don't
this
believe that.
include the times that James did your job for you?
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. Okay, but that you know what it doesn't include?
What?
James, you need to fact check this.
It doesn't include the variations such as Band or Beer,
Oh, see,
which we played
No, Bander Beer is its own game.
11 times. I know, right?
Why did you tally all this?
Brewery or Forgery, 2 times. Only 2 times. And 1 time we played Band or Brewery at Arugas in Harrisburg.
Oh, my
apparently.
God.
So anyway, the pure libation or fabrication is about 21% of the episodes
wow.
we've played.
That's way lower. I win, though, because I had the lowest. I was closest.
That's true.
If you include the variations, it's about 30%. And a rough estimate, because we don't play trivia games on Fest episodes, and there's a couple other episodes that were special episodes that we didn't play games. So if you take all the episodes where we actually played an original Happy Fun Time game, libation or fabrication and its variations account for about a third of the games that we played.
Huh.
So there you go.
I thought it was more.
There you go. I'm sure everybody was dying to know that.
Oh, totally.
Anyway, if you don't know how this game works, you should by now, but I'm going to give you the name of a beer, and you have to tell me if it's a real beer or a fake beer that I made up. And we'll go round robin as to who guess is first. And we're going to start to my left with Steph. And this beer is called We're Gonna Need a Bigger Cucumber. Is that real or fake?
Real.
Steph saying that is real, Dan.
I think I'm going to say fake.
Dan is saying that is fake, Travis.
I'm going to go with real.
Travis going real, and finally John.
I'm going to hit real.
Going hitting real as well. Dan was the only one who was wrong. Because it is, in fact, real. Yes.
Wait, let me enjoy this. I'm ahead of Dan.
It's the last time it's going to happen for the rest of this game.
Well, now there's a lot of pressure. Come on.
This is a 4.8% ABV cucumber sour ale from Columbia Craft Brewing in Columbia, South Carolina. A little bit of Cascade with some cucumber makes what they say a special treat to your face. Moving on to our next beer of the game. And Dan is going to guess first on this one. This beer is called Zwickle Me Timbers. Is that real or fake?
That sounds like you. That's fake.
Dan is saying that is fake, Travis.
I'm also going to go with fake, but it should be real.
So going fake.
I'm going to say real.
Oh, John bucking the trend and going real, and finally Steph.
I don't know. I feel like it could be real, but I do feel like that's totally you, so I'm going to say fake.
Saying it is fake. Well, you are wrong.
Oh!
It is real. John was the only one who had that one right.
Bravo.
This is a
How do
from
you really know if you say fake that it's...
that is actually fake.
Yeah.
There's a thing
does
called
research.
there's a thing called Google, and you can type things.
I'm just saying.
You put
Yeah.
things into it, and it tells you whether they exist or not. I usually check. Because one time I had one that I thought was fake, and then I found out it actually
real.
did
I
exist.
know, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, it's hard.
When you go looking up beer names,
Yeah, it's
like you
well,
have to.
Here's
really,
the thing: a week from now, or by the time this episode airs, the fake ones will exist. So who knows?
I mean, I thought there was going to be a Baby Juices out there, and maybe there is. Maybe.
There
I think we
probably is.
looked, and there might have been
There was like a.
baby juice, I think.
Or no, it was like a. There was some weird ones.
Yeah, there.
There was some really weird
I've gotten down
But
some
I think
deep
Baby
wormholes on
Juices
Untapped.
actually
yeah.
was-
I hope you
Untapped.
cleared that out of your history
Yeah.
after you were done.
The authorities already.
Yeah, I was about to say.
talked to us about it.
Moving on, and Travis
All right.
is going to guess first on this beer. Our next beer is called Rent Check IPA. Is that real or fake?
I hope it's fake. I'm gonna go with fake.
Going with
It's-
fake.
It's totally real.
Totally
Totally real.
totally
I think
real.
it's real.
Come on.
Steph saying it's real, and finally Dan.
I don't know. I was going to say fake, but you were both so confident that it's real. I'm going to go with my gut. Fake.
Oh, going with your gut pays off.
Oh, thank God.
It is fake.
At least I got
It is
one
fake.
point.
IPA pays the rent.
I put this in the Google machine, and no beers
Not
came up. I looked
possible.
through 3 pages of
Untapped.
results.
I suppose
Oh,
that's
checking
our
it right now.
That's our next one right there.
I know.
I mean,
Thanks.
yeah, you would think.
Yeah.
You would think. I mean,
IPA pays the rent. so
Yeah,
it's
I would-
surprising no one.
you might as well send a crowler of your IPA
That's
to your
right.
landlord. Here
Yeah.
you go.
I don't know if he'd like
They
that.
There
frown
it is.
upon that actually.
John is fact checking. He doesn't believe me. He's looking it up right now. If he actually finds one, I'm going to feel so bad because I did look it up. I did look it up. I swear to God, I looked it up.
Did you check Untapped?
What was it called?
Do
Rent Check
so
IPA.
as far as like on the Untapped, do homebrew beers count?
Here's the thing: as far as Happy Fun Time games go,
Yes.
if it's not a game
not
about
there.
homebrews, then homebrews don't count.
I'm
Okay.
surprised. Not there.
Not there. See? Not there. Not there.
Okay.
69-cent check.
69-cent check. Yes.
No.
That doesn't buy a whole lot.
This rubber ducky.
You know what
went
I
to
did
market.
find? I found a lot of advice on how to deal with like legal issues with your landlord.
And
What?
did you resolve anything?
No.
Oh, okay.
We get along pretty well with our landlord. Dan and I are roommates. He's not paying
Yeah,
attention.
I'm not. I'm sorry.
Moving
I was
on.
also checking Untapped because I doubted you.
Jesus. Such faith, guys.
The
Thanks.
first time
It's such
in
a good
Libation
name,
Aircraft
like, how-
history.
No, I know.
Using that
And
one.
usually, if it's that
Did you
simple
actually
and
come up
obvious-
with it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good job.
Moving
Staring
on.
at your rent check?
No, I was not. John is going to guess first on our next beer, and our next beer is called Unmuddied Lager. Real or fake?
I'm just going real.
All right, just going real. John is employing the Steph strategy.
Yeah,
he has
I'm
guessed
saying real.
real on every one.
There's no way you'd come up with
I mean,
three fake
you've-
ones for
I've
this
heard
game.
just about every unbelievable name.
Steph saying it's real as well. Dan?
I'm gonna go fake.
Dan going fake, and finally Travis.
I'm going to go fake.
Going to go fake as well. The fakes have it.
What the hell?
It's fake. I don't
Since
know.
when you put this much effort into this game?
There was only one other fake one so far. I don't know
Oh,
where you
I
got
thought that
three
was the
from.
third fake one.
No, it was the one right before this.
Well, then I'm going to say real for the next one a while.
Clear as an unmuddied lager.
Yeah, I'm not going to stop now.
I'm not. Don't even tell me.
Preemptive real.
Real.
That one is fake, should be real, but Google machine said no, doesn't exist. Moving on.
Google machine said no. Real.
We're coming back around the horn. I actually have a couple of options because I gave myself some choices in case we were running long. So we'll see. Maybe there'll be another one after this. Maybe there won't be. Steph's going to guess first on this one. Dan's going to love it. It's called Edna Kradoppelbach.
real.
Steph is saying that's real, Dan.
I want it to be real, but Fox wouldn't let that happen. It's fake.
All right, Dan saying that is fake. Travis
I'm going to go with fake as well.
going with fake as well.
I'm
And
going
finally,
real.
John.
Definitely
John going real.
I like John.
The reels have it.
Yes!
It is real.
It's a
Fox
great
let
name.
it happen. And guess
Or
what?
Fox doesn't
Fox
know.
doesn't
Or they
know.
don't
That's
know.
true. Yeah, they don't know.
Longtime listeners may remember Chain Reaction Brewing.
Denver, Colorado.
I looked at you like you knew what I was talking about. We had a guy, a homebrew friend of
Right.
Steph's on a long time ago. Back in episode 59, I looked it up from the Halcyon days of 2015. Who worked with the guys from Chain Reaction while he lived out in Denver. They make Edna Kradoppelbach,
Damn it.
a 7.5% Doppelbach. According to an Instagram
I wonder if I've
post,
had it.
they say this malty, bready, caramel glass of lager deliciousness is ready to seduce your taste buds and teach you a thing or two about how damn good Doppelbachs are. I agree. Kradoppelbachinator. All right, let me look at the scores real quick here.
I thought you couldn't have a Doppelbock without it ending in ater. I thought that was against
It's
the
like a
style
rule.
regulation.
Yeah.
Well, we're not in Germany.
This is true. I think it should be
Unfortunately.
Edna Kradoppelbachinator. That would be really
That would be
difficult.
even better.
That would have been great.
All right, so I'm going to give you
Just do another one.
the
Let's
score
go.
real quick. Well, no, because we have an interesting situation.
Why do we
Travis,
have,
Travis has 3 points out in the
Right.
lead. Everybody, oh no, I'm sorry. John also has 3 points.
Ah.
They are both tied for first place. Steph and Dan each have 2 points. So I'm going to give you one more, which means one of you could run away with the victory. One of my fellow beer busters could tie. Our final beer of the game, and Dan's going to guess first on this one. This is Puppy Booger Pale Ale.
There's a lot of pressure here. Fake. I wouldn't drink something with the word booger in it.
Fair enough,
Well,
Travis.
that's definitely real.
God damn it.
Definitely saying real, John.
I'm going to say fake.
real.
Saying fake, Steph saying real. The fakes have it.
The
It
booger
is,
thing.
in fact, fake. I came up with that one first and decided that it was stupid and I wasn't going to use it, but since you guys told me to do another one, I used it anyway. So that puts John
I'm very happy, actually, that one is
is fake. Yeah, me too. Me
That's
too.
That just means it's up for grabs
Well,
if
there
you want to
goes
use
my
it.
Yeah.
there goes my next pitch.
So that puts John out in the lead. Runaway decisive victory with 4 points. Travis and Dan now tied for second in a Polish pickle parade. Steph sitting with
That's all right.
2 points. That's all
Can't
right.
believe you came up with all those fakes.
There was 3.
You did it on purpose because you know my strategy.
Actually, I have been doing that lately because you always say real
I
for
always
all
say
of them
real.
because you know I'm lazy.
There
and
you go. So, one of the Beer Busters listeners should tally the percentage of times that I say real over fake.
Did I say fake for all of them? Because I think I did.
Somebody's totally going to do that, and then they're going to call us and tell us all about
Yes,
it.
please call us.
Dan, you did say fake for all of them.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
did the opposite of your strategy.
John did all
Well,
real.
no, not really.
You did all fake.
No, I did one.
No,
fake.
John did one fake.
Oh, you're correct. Yeah, the last one, which won you the game, actually. This is, of course, the part of the podcast where we give a shout-out to our most generous patrons on Patreon, people who allow us to do cool things like buy this new mixer we are recording with
Yay.
tonight. We would like to thank from the bottom of our hearts newish patron Kathy Obazuski, James Lambert, Joe Mansell,
As soon as you put it in your mouth, you totally get the banana.
I thought it was something else every time.
Eric Dixon, lawyered, Nate Falkman,
Moving on.
Brian Mills,
It's got a hair at Dutch.
Wolfgang von Kultz,
I want to freeze it and just lick it on the porch.
Jen McDonald. That went on longer than I expected.
Me too.
Marilyn Engelman. Drugs. Josh Price.
Every time. Mama said foosball the devil.
Ron McDonald. Bleep. And Victoria Miles.
You said her twice.
Did I?
I thought you did.
Hold on. No, I didn't. This is exported directly from Patreon.
Okay.
God.
If you want to find out how you can get on this list and get cool sound effects played after your name,
How do you get on it twice, though?
if you donate $100 for at least 1 month, you can be on the list twice. Or you can donate as little as $1 a month and get access to Last Goal and other cool things. Go to patreon.com/beerbusters. But Dan, what do we do now?
We have to settle up.
Those are the adverts I was talking about earlier.
Yes.
Let's pay our tab.
All right.
Say, Yvonne, remember when I said I'd have to send away to NASA to calculate your bar tab?
Oh, yeah. We all had a good laugh, Mo.
The results came back today. You owe me $70 billion.
Hey, Wayne.
Hey, Dan.
What is your favorite part of your body?
My teeth?
Not what I thought you were going to say, but I agree. Maybe not my teeth, my whole mouth.
Well, I only said that because I know what we're doing.
Oh, you're smart.
I thought that's what you wanted me to say.
You could have said whatever, and I would have rolled with it.
Hey, Dan, what's Quip?
Quip. I'll tell you about a quick Quip. Quip is a modern oral care brand that designs beautifully simple electronic toothbrushes. You know those toothbrushes that Dad always gets us for Christmas?
Yes.
We're going to need to throw those out
Okay.
because we should get Quip. We're not going to
Okay.
share it. We're going to get our own because that'd be weird.
All right.
All right. They're going to deliver affordable brush heads every 3 months on a dentist-recommended schedule. That way, we don't forget to throw those out and also forget to buy a new toothbrush months after we should have thrown those out.
Are you telling me that dentists say you should change your toothbrush every 3 months?
Apparently.
This is news to me.
And yet, most people's dental insurance only covers 2 screenings a year, so you go every 6 months. So this will put you at better than what your insurance is going to do to take care of your mouth.
Make brushing great again.
Oh, God. They even have some smart accessories. Like they have a wall mat, so that way you don't have to fight to find counter space for it in a tiny bathroom like we have. You just have this really cool press wall mount that just goes wherever, any glossy surface. That way, if you want to take it with you into the shower, you want to put it off to the right side of the mirror, the left side of the mirror, you even want to take it downstairs to the kitchen for some stupid reason, you can take that mount with you. And, you know one of my biggest problems with brushing teeth? I use too much toothpaste. I think that's why we run out of toothpaste pretty often.
Ah, okay.
It's my fault. But if we went with Quip, they have toothpaste tubes that provide a guide on how much to use, so you don't overdo it, you don't underdo it, you're not cheating yourself or wasting money.
A pea-sized dollop.
It's got to be a pea-sized dollop.
Which I knew before I found out about Quip.
I think I did too, but I don't eat peas, so I don't know how big a pea is.
Fair enough.
But for the listeners of Beer Busters, you can head over to tryquip.com/beerbusters, and you are going to get yourself a free $10 refill while you're also doing the best thing you can do to take care of your mouth. That is tryquip.com/beerbusters. $10 refill for free.
Yay, teeth.
No.
Your beard.
No. Know your beers?
Hey, Steph, what do you got?
Hops.
Hey, I like hops.
Yeah.
Hops.
I realize that I've talked about a lot of beer stuff, and I really struggled to come up with something for this segment anymore. So, oh my God. I can't right now.
What the hell?
Sorry. I was Rich. Don't look at me.
Rich is sending us snaps while we're trying to
Fucking Snapchat.
film a podcast episode, as it were. Film.
Yeah, sure.
No.
I mean, you could do it.
All right, so I thought I would try a couple episodes where we could feature some hops, and I could tell you a little bit more about the hops. So
I like that idea.
Insert Know Your Hops Part 1.
That's guaranteed content for at least a few episodes there.
For sure.
Good call.
So I looked at the beers that we were drinking tonight at Stolen Sun, and I looked at some of the hops that are featured in some of their beers, and I thought we would talk about them. So first, I thought we could talk about Idaho 7, which was a hop we've already talked about, and a hop that's going to be in a beer that we'll be drinking coming up as well. For sure. So Idaho 7 originates in the United States, and it was developed by Jackson Hop Farm in Wilder, Idaho. It was first released in 2015. It's used primarily for aroma and dry hopping due to its potent aroma and flavor, but high enough alpha acids to contribute good bitterness. It's excellent as a single hop or part of a blend for an IPA pale ale or any hop-forward American wheat beers. Aroma and flavor characteristics, it has pungent tropical fruit and citrus, think like apricot, orange, red grapefruit, papaya, with big notes of pine and hints of black tea. The alpha acid range is 13 to 15%, and the beta acid range is 4 to 5%.
I was just listening to the Greg Orth episode when we were doing the popcorn pairings, and towards the end when we were doing like random pairings, and we were talking about like tropical fruit notes, and you were like, I think it's papaya. Is this what papaya tastes like? I think this is what papaya tastes like.
And that's not on the soundboard yet?
I haven't uploaded any clips in like 6 months.
It will be.
So another hop featured here at Stolen Sun and many craft breweries is Citra. Citra originates from Washington in the United States. It was developed by the hop breeding company of Yakima and released in 2007. Citra, which is trademarked or has the R next to it, what does that mean?
Registered trademark?
Registered trademark.
Registered, yeah.
Remains highly sought after for its unique flavor characteristics. Because of its distinctive and intensive aromatics, Citra is best in late additions or dry hopping capacity. It can be used as a single variety, of course, as a blend. Citra does well in American wheat beers, pale ales, IPAs, Belgian-style ales, and has been known to even complement beers with Brettanomyces. Aroma and flavor, it's strongly tropical and lush, with a host of fruit flavors, including peach, passion fruit, guava, lime, and gooseberry. Alpha range is 11 to 13%, beta 3.5 to 4.5. Finally, probably my favorite hop, Mosaic.
Simcoe? Oh.
No, Simcoe's your favorite hop. Mosaic, another U.S. originated hop, was originally released in 2012. Another registered trademark hop was developed by the Hop Breeding Company, and it is a daughter of Simcoe and a nugget-derived male. Mosaic is often compared to Citra, with which it shares a respectable alpha content but a highly desirable oil profile that makes it commonly used for flavor and aroma. Its exotic, fruit-laden bouquet lends itself well to American-style IPAs, saisons, wheats, and Brettanomyces fermented beers. Aroma and flavor, complex and pronounced. Strong impressions of citrus oil, pine, blueberry, peach, and tropical fruit, especially mango, with shades of mandarin orange and lime. These descriptions get 100%. I'm sorry. Alpha 11.5 to 13.5, beta 3.2 to 3.9.
So
now you know.
Citra and Mosaic, as I'm looking at your notes, are both registered
trademark.
Yep.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah, there's.
Yeah, there's actually only one of the large hop companies you can buy them from.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Are,
I figured it was like a kind of flower. Like nobody owns a trademark on tulips, do they?
Yet.
Well, certain agricultural products, like crops you can grow, they have certain breeds that you can actually own.
Well, Monsanto, not to get on a thing, but you can copyright a gene, or, the DNA of
That's
of
pretty
seeds.
much exactly it. Yeah.
So it's a whole thing.
Wow.
I'm interested in hops. A lot of these hops that you're talking about being introduced within the last 15 to 20 years. Are there any hop varieties that have been around for a super long time that haven't changed? Because I feel there's so much interbreeding and intermingling of hop varieties.
I'm sure Centennial's been around for at least
the
100
noble
years.
hops, the noble hops.
Yeah.
I mean, or any of the Slovenian varieties. A couple of the names have changed.
But are they
to protect the innocent?
Can you definitively say their
guilty.
characteristics are still what they were, say, 200, 500 years ago? I mean, I guess you can't really know for sure.
They're different every year.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what I mean.
They are, but they're going to be along the same lines. I would think,
right.
I guess, I haven't ever had any access to like 300-year-old hops.
Right.
Nor do I really want them.
Yeah. Although we had an interesting conversation about
you were a sour blender.
like
aged
aged hops.
hops. But I know I was just thinking as you were talking about when these were introduced, it'd be weird to like go back like 500 years ago and have a beer that was made with hops that just like aren't around anymore.
When does a hop, if you have an experimental hop, when is it no longer experimental?
When it becomes registered.
Yeah,
basically. So
when there's a name for it?
They actually do. There is a process on that I've read about that they actually will go through and name it. And when it gets a name, basically,
then it's
going
not
into
experimental.
production.
It's a number.
And they start. They have to do a small acreage run, and then they expand it out like the next year.
Right. Yeah.
That's good to know.
There's a couple coming up that I've seen.
That's so cool.
Should we drink more beer?
I think we should.
Let's drink more beer.
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
Round 2, fight.
I love the 90s.
Strikes back.
Every time you said back in the 90s, all I could think of was BoJack Horseman because I'm obsessed with it.
Old school.
It's quite entertaining.
It is. I love that show so much.
Yeah.
BoJack Horseman aside, we have some new flights of beer
We do.
on the table. What do we have? What are we starting with?
We're going to start all the way over to the left, and we're going to start with Uncle John's beer.
Uncle John.
This is actually the third version of it, Uncle John's beer.
So this is kind of our, this is a beer that I've probably been brewing since the 90s.
Yep,
well,
they don't make them beers
definitely
no more.
brewing in the
Nope.
90s.
Love it.
And this is kind of our jam beer here. And with, being a huge Deadhead, we actually have a Dead Night we do here every Thursday night, which has just become awesome. And we have a great following that comes for it. But this beer, we basically keep the malt recipe the same. So we got like some great crystal malts and Munich malts and wheat and just a very nice malty background. And then we play around with the hops every batch. So this is batch 3, Centennial and Simcoe. And just an old school classic West Coast style IPA.
It is incredible. And you're
Nice.
right, they
Yep.
don't make them like this anymore, and
Nope.
that is a damn
The
shame.
pine, the bubblegum.
Resinous, and
Yes.
you can see through it.
And it's like
And it's clear.
amber.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's not hazy.
Yep.
We actually, I joke, and I say it's the anti-juice.
The anti-juice, yes.
Yes, and
I
I also
like
say
that.
it's a cure for the haze.
Cure for the
Cure for the
haze.
haze. I like that.
These are all good beer names
Definitely
slash
not the
podcast
Antichrist.
Anti-haze.
Ooh, that escalated quickly.
The cure for all that hazes you.
Yes, the
Yeah,
cure for
pretty
what
much.
hazes you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's just
I'm here all
it
night.
has those great, just grip your throat kind of hops in it, which
Yep.
is just delicious. And this is what I drink. This is like the one
Yeah.
beer that if I could brew this all the time, this is what I love.
This is like you walk up to a 20-year-old newly minted craft beer fan and you say,
You mean
21?
21?
did I say 20?
You did.
I totally meant 21.
No one has had a beverage before
Whoops.
21.
Of course
No,
not.
no, it doesn't
Not even
happen.
Malia Obama.
Or wow, with the topical humor. Or a 16-year-old, I don't know. But you call that an IPA? This is an IPA.
It took a long time to get
the
there.
journey was a lot better than the destination on that one. I'll give you that.
Oh my god. So moving on.
So,
Speaking of the haze.
yeah, Hazy Sunday. No, this is actually Hopophonic Haze. And this is the Idaho 7 version. As you were talking about Idaho 7
Yes.
and Know Your Beers, this is a straight Idaho 7 hazy IPA.
There's that papaya.
Yes.
Papaya.
Have you had papaya since that episode at all?
No.
All right.
Steph has no idea what papaya tastes
Yeah,
like.
I don't think I've ever
But
actually
that
had
is
one.
that would be papaya, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Papaya?
Is that papaya?
weird?
No, that's potatoes.
Am I getting papaya? I'm getting papaya.
I think it's super tropical and
It is.
like and grapefruit. A lot of grapefruit.
It's like that. It's like that, like melon and then like citrus.
And then the
Yeah, exactly.
but not
yeah.
like orange citrus, like grapefruit citrus.
Yeah, yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like grapefruit pulls you in the throat a little
I love
more.
the hand gestures. It's too bad the listeners can't see it, but it perfectly describes what you're saying.
Yeah.
This is-
There's orange, and then there's grapefruit. I like, of all the hazy ones we've had, this is the one I like the best.
You think so? I actually
Yeah,
like the earlier
I
hazy
like
one a little
Idaho
better.
7 is different than a lot of the other heavily used IPA hops, and I like the uniqueness of this, especially being completely Idaho centered.
So this is also the third in this series. The other two were El Dorado and Citra. El Dorado was actually my favorite. I got a wonderful like vanilla wave on it. That was just awesome. And I believe, John, you said Citra was yours?
Yep, love the Citra.
Yeah. Everybody kind of tastes things differently, and getting to isolate those hops, you really get to kind of see how you understand it.
It's kind of fitting that you do beers that focus on a single hop because you do coffees that focus on a single coffee bean.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a little harder to source hops that are specifically like one farm, I suppose, unless you went directly to the farm. But which I guess maybe that's in the future for us. We'll just.
But
start,
it's a good series too. Like as a beer
sure.
drinker, it's pretty cool. Like you see a lot of beers that have, like the next one will drink a ton of different hops, and it's really cool to isolate it and actually like we keep again like kind of like Uncle John's. We keep the malt the same.
Right.
We keep the process the same. Oh, here comes food.
Oh, wow. And there's some
Chris making the good
some
delivery.
finger food. But you're right. Single hop beers are really cool. It's really cool to do single hop beers side by side.
Yeah.
With the same malt profile, the same yeast and everything.
Yeah, actually,
and then just a different
as
hop.
I was centrifuging this one, we had the very last bit of the El Dorado, and we got to try them side by side, actually get to think about them, uniquely. And that was something that was a super cool experience, and, I look forward to doing as we move through the different hops.
And it's also interesting, the centrifuge. Like, the beer is super clean, and the mouthfeel is super drinkable. So it goes down nicely, and that's, kind of why we invested in the centrifuge. It allows us to get a precise kind of mouthfeel for the beers.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and like the first one, it doesn't have that super sticky mouthfeel that you get with a lot of these like really trendy hazy IPAs out there. Yeah. So we got a lot of munchies here. So we haven't talked much at all about the food here.
There's a full service kitchen here too.
You guys have a full service kitchen, so you've got the coffee, you got the beer, and you've got delicious looking food. I tried some of the cheese fries earlier. They were really good.
I had the cauliflower sandwich, which you said is a special right now,
Yes.
right? The buffalo cauliflower sandwich, that was divine. It was
It's
so
a
good.
recurring spell. I mean, it's very popular.
It'll keep coming back again?
It'll keep
Good.
coming back.
Because that was super, super good. So tell us
yeah.
about what we have in front of us.
So, simple guac and chips, but obviously handmade. Everything back there, for the most part is scratch. Like if we can do it scratch, it's all done scratch. These are the nachos. I think our nachos are probably some of the best. Just the way that we prepare them, some of the best you'll ever eat. I mean, you get stuff on every chip, which is just amazing. Great ingredients. This is the beef, so we use a
Braised. It's like a braised short rib. Yeah.
Right. So like delicious beef, but yet great fresh ingredients on top. The sun cakes, which are immensely popular here, they're classic arepas. So it's a corn cake with the braised beef and some
pico de gallo and queso fresco.
There you go. And then the obligatory,
of course,
pretzel bites
amazing.
with beer cheese and
that cheese is incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah, I go to a lot of beer fests for here, and I end up half the time talking more about the coffee and the food than I do the beer. It's really a community of artisans here, and everyone really gets to chip in their segment and make this such a great place.
That cheese is really good. The pretzels, the guac's really good. Very nice.
And the jalapenos are nice and spicy. And I now have the hiccups. I'm sorry.
I'm debating what my next move is going to be.
I legit have the hiccups. Here, I know you want to try this.
Kind of, yeah. It's not kind of.
Yeah, try the sun cakes.
Yeah. Go for it.
Amazing.
So let's talk about the next beer while we give Dan time to eat a minute, and then he can talk about the food.
So the new Exton IPA, which is one of our staples now, it's actually an interesting story how it came about. We realized the hazy IPAs were kind of the popular thing, and neither John nor I had ever really made one before. And so we weren't exactly positive on what was the process. And so we used a yeast that ended up flocculating out and clearing up. And I actually, for the first time, we took a picture.
And it was one of the first we centrifuged.
Yeah, we
too,
actually
so
centrifuged it, and tried to go cloudy and make it look hazy, and it ended up still dropping out. And I actually recirced it a couple times just to make it cloudy back on that first batch, and ended up people loved it though, and even after it cleared up, and actually I think it tastes even better after it cleared up. And so now it's become one of our staples, and something people come in just for that beer, and it's definitely one of my favorites as well.
And the New Exton's kind of like it's our take on the New England. So luckily we come from Exton, which is
which starts with an E.
Yeah,
exactly. So it worked out.
It works perfectly. I like the combination of the hops. Mm-hmm. What is Idaho 7
it's
in here
Citra,
again?
Idaho
Citra.
7, and Mosaic.
Those are the
All
three
of
I
them.
talked about.
They are, yeah.
Ding, ding.
I am a genius.
So, and we call this kind of our hazeless, hazy beer. And super clean, super crisp, but still like very juicy.
Yeah,
very
still
juicy.
carries those tropical fruit
Still
hop
has.
notes, and then comes out clean. And
If you close your eyes, you'll think you're drinking a hazy beer.
and even better, it looks really nice.
If you turn the lights out, all beers are hazy.
Well, there was a song when I was growing up that was, when the lights go out, the colors are all the same.
Or it's less dangerous.
It
the
was
lights
about,
out, it's less dangerous.
college football rivalries. Definitely not.
More sports.
Yeah, more sports.
So, Dan, what did you think of
The corn cake thing, the name that I can't pronounce,
corn cake thing?
was really good.
Sun cake.
Very good.
I thought it was what was the other part?
Arepas?
That was
Yeah, but on the menu they're titled sun cakes. So
That you
I tried to
can
go with
pronounce.
that.
We
I can
thought it would
pronounce.
be difficult for people to say arepas all the time. So
Good call.
And-
Suncake.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
The beef complements the cake very well. The cheese is good. I don't like tomatoes, but it works with that. The tomatoes are good with that.
They're not tomatoes. It's pico.
I guess it's pico de
Just
gallo.
don't think of them as tomatoes.
Yeah. But I made sure that I got some on my fork. It was good. It all blends so well.
The guacamole is so nice.
The guac is really
And I'm a
nice
bit
now.
of a guac snob, I'm going to admit. It's one of my favorite foods. It's so... And I like that it's simple.
Dan doesn't like guac either.
I don't.
So there's one more beer.
There is
there
one more
is
beer.
one more beer, and this is our take on a double IPA. It is a little bit more of an old school West Coast double IPA. It's going to clock in at 9.1%. It's going to drink like 4.5.
Wow.
It's our Knucklehead double IPA.
I'm trying to figure out if I would have guessed that it was that high if you hadn't told me.
I don't think I would have.
Yeah, I don't know.
It hides it very well.
I feel like when you get that maltiness in there, you kind of know, okay, it's up there. It's got to be up
I
there.
think
But I
the
was
subtle sweetness
I was
gives it away.
expecting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you get that malty sweetness.
There's a little more in the back end
Yeah.
that I'm getting now.
I usually I like to play a game, and if I ever pour a taster for someone at the bar, I like to have them try and guess without looking the percentage. And most of the time, I get around 5 or 6.
Really? See, now I want to know. I want to go back in time and not remember that you said that,
You
and
wanna
wonder
go-
what I would have guessed if I hadn't known.
In time.
You can't really stick your whole thumb in there.
Those are legit the two best things on our soundboard, and you missed the perfect
I
opportunity.
did.
to
You're
play.
right, because I was thinking about the beer.
How dare you?
And not because of that, I'm just not going to play it.
It's been a while since I've had a bunch of hop-forward beers / IPAs and really appreciated them, because I feel like we got really fatigued because everything was IPA all the time.
Yep.
And the whole haze thing, I don't think any of us here on the podcast have ever really been on that train. But this is really nice, and you guys do a lot of hop-forward beers that I think I don't know. I feel like I'm remembering what it's like to appreciate hoppy beers again, which is cool.
We have a good process we use, and it's a process that's worked. So
Yeah.
Don't fix it if it ain't broke.
Yeah.
Trust the process.
Trust the
Pretty
process.
Another sports reference.
Yeah.
for
Row
you.
your boat.
Well, I know what that means.
Row
Well,
your boat.
to be fair, I actually have no idea what that means, but I know it's a sports thing.
All right, we're going to leave it at that. So can I point out one thing?
Please.
We did not have a coffee beer.
I was also thinking about that.
we have two more that we wanted to put out, and it's actually interesting. We have a beer that is brewed with cascara, so coffee grows like a cherry, like I said, what the farmer does at origin to get that seed out of the middle is kind of what influences the flavor of the coffee. But the fruit that's on the outside a lot of times just gets kind of discarded, or it's used for mulch, and it's a very kind of sweet fruit. We actually made a beer, a Belgian artisan ale with Peloton tea in Westchester, and it's a Cascara artisan ale. So that's the fruit on the outside of the coffee, and then we also have, like we said earlier, the Java John's Jumpy John's
Java Stout.
Jumpy John's Java Stout.
You guys like your alliterations here.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
I'm a huge fan of
Sesame
most literary
Street.
elements.
Would you say alliterations are your favorite?
I don't think so. I'm a big metaphor guy.
I was going to say metaphors and similes.
Yeah.
I believe you can talk about anything as if it was football.
I like onomatopoeia.
And I just like putting my name in beers.
So we've got 2 more beers.
Yep.
One we're going to save for last call.
Of course.
Indeed.
So if you would like to hear about this beer, you, my friend, need to...
And you would like to hear about
Yes,
this
of
beer.
course.
Yes.
You have to go to patreon.com/beerbusters and sign up for as little as $1 a month. So we are going to finish the show proper with, damn it, the screen just changed. Jumping Jack Flashes...
no.
I'm sorry, Jumpy
John's
Jehoshaphat.
Java Stout.
Okay.
Oh my
Alliteration.
goodness.
Back to the literary elements.
Well, he was doing alliterations, just not the correct
Right,
alliteration.
yeah. That's how I live my life.
So it's interesting when we were first kind of like building this concept with roastery and brewery, I really had it in my head that if we came out initially with a coffee beer, like everyone, I kind of felt like everyone would think like coffee was in every single one of our beers here. But it turned out that people just wanted coffee in their beers.
Yeah.
And so after we opened, we had a delicious oatmeal stout called Obscurus. That's another like old school recipe, just super clean, drinkable oatmeal stout. And everyone was wanting coffee stout, so we slowly started doing some cask additions and infusing coffee in it, and finally we just dove
With some
in.
slight changes, we basically did the Obscurus oatmeal stout and then added Gustavo, which is one of our coffees that has been around most
Since
of
the
the time.
beginning,
Yeah,
yeah.
most of the time since the beginning. And it like I said earlier, it is my favorite cup of coffee. Really great chocolate and cherry through it. And the stout body, it's still a lighter stout for today's standards, of course. It's some of them getting up there to 15-20%. It really blends well with it and creates a phenomenal coffee stout. So we'll go ahead and taste that one.
Oh, yeah.
It's nice.
Oh, that is perfect.
So we infuse in
nice.
the cold phase of the beer. So
Okay.
it's,
Yeah.
we're trying to keep the bright flavors of the coffee that you drank earlier tonight.
Yeah,
Right,
and doing that on the cold side does not add a whole lot of astringency to the beer, so it really allows that coffee to shine in its beautiful parts with the beer.
Yeah, and it has a really nice like dark chocolate sort of underneath.
Yeah.
But it doesn't ever it feels like it's gonna get too bitter, but then it doesn't.
Yeah.
It kind of like teeters on that edge.
It's like
yeah.
a teeny bit creamy,
Yeah.
Yep.
you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Just enough. It's super well balanced.
I feel like
Toes the line without going over.
Yeah, that creaminess sort of like cuts away. Like, oh, it's
Yeah.
about to be too bitter. No, it's nice and creamy.
Yep. Indeed.
It's like the pillow
It's
when
the
you're falling
pillow.
down.
Yeah, a while back we actually
I'm trying to
took one of our.
include a lot of metaphors.
There you go. Since we talked about the literary
Yep.
elements, a while back, a couple weeks, I guess, when we came out with this version, I took off one keg that we didn't add this coffee to. That I ended up having for cask, and we did a bourbon aged coffee and added that to that cask and had it on hand pump. It was amazing.
That sounds really
So
nice.
explain to me how that works, bourbon aged coffee.
So actually, this is really cool. This is something actually we didn't talk about yet. We're doing a series so we do some traditional barrel-aged coffee. So we literally take the green coffee and we put it into a barrel. We currently have from Brandywine
Branch,
Distillers,
yeah.
their custom cask. We have a big
Revitalist bourbon.
Yeah.
Is that Revitalist custom cask? It's a single barrel Revitalist custom cask that we got actually from them. We went up to go see them. They do our gins that we carry here. Really great guys, and they sent us home with a empty barrel that we then filled up with coffee.
Yeah, like a
So
whole
there's
bag
just-
of Burundi coffee.
It's just coffee beans in there. Like there's
Yes.
no
Yeah.
And it's
liquid.
it's in the green form.
Well, I mean,
too.
there definitely was a little bourbon left in
right.
Right, but you don't put anything in there with
Right.
the beans
No, no,
to
no.
sort of like,
No.
yeah. Huh.
So we have that, and that's a traditional like barrel aged coffee. But we also do what we call the eclectic coffee alcohol test, and that's we actually take liquid alcohol and infuse it into the greens and then roast it. So it adds just a completely different
Yeah, so
complexity.
you don't necessarily get a whole lot of the wood in it. You actually get a lot more of the alcohol up front. The first one we did was a mezcal, and it really brought that smoky, like, mezcal flavor to it. That was awesome. And then the second one we did was a Kentucky bourbon.
I have a
And-
very, very important question. Is there anything you can't age in a barrel?
I mean, there's a couple answers to that.
Yeah, I just feel like
People.
You keep hearing about
Yeah.
we were talking about barrel aged wines
That's not true.
that long ago. People barrel aged
Barrel-aged
maple
hot sauces?
syrup, hot sauces,
Yeah.
coffee beans. It's just so cool. Like all this shit people are just
Now,
throwing in barrels.
Okay, two questions. Question and follow-up question. Number one, how many times can you age coffee in there before you're not going to get any of the barrel
I think
anymore?
it depends on what you
do
start
you
out
even
with.
know?
The barrel.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's different. We're actually just, the barrel aging we're kind of experimenting with a lot right now.
And my follow-up question is, do you have plans to then barrel age any beers in those barrels after you've barrel aged beans in them?
We've talked about a little bit. We're not really sure on the answer on that yet. It maybe there is something we have done where we have taken the barrel aged beans and added them to the beer, which gives some of the same flavors,
Yeah.
but also adds in like the coffee element to it. If you ever go back to the brewery, there's not a whole lot of
There's
room.
not a lot of
yeah. Barrels basically means I'm jumping over things back there.
We actually purchased a canning line here that's still like wrapped up.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to figure out like where do we put cans.
Yeah.
So
Valid concern.
we have like a labeler, we have
Yeah, we're ready to
we
go
need
almost.
labels.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
need
well,
labels.
but
we're trying to figure out like where are we actually going to put cans and how we're actually going to do this. So doing barrels is tough.
yeah, space is the lack of space back there is the bane of my existence most days. But
said every brewer ever. Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, pretty
it's like
much.
Tetris back there.
Yeah.
You gotta, like kind of
Yeah.
fill different.
No matter how big your brewery is, you still don't have enough room.
Yep.
We really don't have a ton.
Yeah, no, it's tiny. We base all of our processes off being able to roll things in and out of the space to use them. But yeah, there's not a lot of room for barrels. I think more likely is, like I said, we do the barrel-aged coffees into the beer, which gives us some of that barrel flavor, also gives us that coffee, and really creates a well-rounded flavor where it's not overbearing barrel or overbearing coffee.
It's just our
Very
take on
intrigued
it.
by
I mean, it's
this.
just.
Yeah.
But the eclectic coffee alcohol test, those are like really great coffees, I believe.
Yeah, they usually don't make it past like a week on
We
a round.
sell them. It's amazing. Like I really wasn't sure. Like, are people actually going to want to buy this stuff? We sell it so crazy fast. It's amazing.
Well, I don't think it's something you can get anywhere else. I've never
very
heard
unique,
of it.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
very unique and special.
Well, and it has it just has
Oh,
amazing like alcohol esters and flavors that
People
you
love
just
booze.
don't normally.
Oh, they do indeed.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about some of the really cool things that you guys do here on the regular.
All right.
You mentioned dead sets on Thursdays, every Thursday at 5 p.m. for all the deadheads that want to come out. And you mentioned story time, which is every other Wednesday at 10 a.m.,
Yes.
correct?
And story times
When
like
Travis gets his tennis balls
that's right.
out.
Yeah, exactly.
Tennis balls, you said, right?
Tennis balls,
yeah.
Tennis. Tennis is
balls.
there, yeah.
So come and listen to stories.
Sure.
Yeah. I also don't read the stories.
Yeah.
They won't let me.
Yeah.
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then some other events, I believe.
There's also like crafts. So like,
Yeah,
mothers, fathers, bring their 2 to 5 year old kids here, and we have my wife's an educator, so we have usually like a reading special. Not usually, we have a reading specialist here who does reading with them, and then they do a craft, and so it's a really cool event. And actually, we packed the whole mezzanine upstairs. It's unbelievable the amount of people that actually come for it. Yeah.
Very cool.
And it's cool
It's
because
better than going to the library.
Well, and we're trying to like evolve the whole like coffee shop piece, which we're still trying to work on. Like, we have internet, we have all office space here, we have meeting space. So we're trying to like develop like how do we get parents in, a lot of this is kind of, we run a cruise ship here, and we have like all these events. And it seems like we have this schedule that's like, okay, on this day we do this, at this time we do this, and it really has become like being directors of cruise ships.
Special teams coordinator.
And that is actually after 10, so we actually also serve beer for the mothers and fathers that would like to imbibe.
Oh, so you start serving beer at 10?
Yes, that is the earliest time we are legally allowed to serve.
Good to know. Good to know. That's a good question. I believe this episode will air after St. Patrick's Day,
but
you guys
indeed.
will and did have a St. Patrick's Day brunch on St. Patrick's Day.
Y'all really missed out if you didn't show up.
Yeah, and
it was awesome.
Saturday Blues
Best
Break
day ever.
on March 23rd. So if you're listening to this episode fresh, come on out. That sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, they played it here a couple times so far, and they definitely put on a great show. They really get after it. Gets pretty packed in here when they play, actually. Definitely.
We're starting to develop a lot of like our crowd here seems to be, we're in a suburb of Exton, is we get a lot of like a daytime people here, especially in the weekends. So we're starting to do like live music during the days, and we're slowly, like Sundays we do a lot of jazz brunches. So
fun.
So we do, our jazz brunch is like I think the last Sunday of every month
so far.
But we're going to start adding in, like we're going to start making like Stolen Sunday a thing. And we're going to start adding a lot of music in every Sunday, and just to give folks a place to go on the weekends.
And you have a special brunch menu too, as well, right?
Yeah. The kitchen really brings it out for brunch, and they've done some amazing stuff.
That's awesome. If you want to learn more about Stolen Sun, the awesome things they do here, their beers, their coffee, their food, and their awesome events, stolensun.com, facebook.com/stolensun, and on Instagram they are Stolen Sun Brew. Wayne, they're not on Twitter, sorry.
You freaking breweries not having Twitters.
I don't get it. I don't even know what to do with Twitter.
I'm a big Twitter guy.
I don't even get
just
it.
have one,
just
so when
for
we
my
post
personal.
the episode, I can tag you. That's all I want.
Yeah.
All I want is to tag
I don't
you.
know who uses it. Well,
I
I know
use
one
Twitter.
person who
I use
uses
it.
it, but I don't know.
I use Twitter.
I use Twitter.
I don't get it. I don't really get Instagram either, but I'm an older...
I love Instagram.
Instagram, I'm on the fence about. They made me get Snapchat.
Yeah, I'm not
Snapchat's
crazy about
fun.
Snapchat.
Just fucking-
I thought that was for one purpose only.
Yeah, well, apparently it's not.
But I am a big Twitter fan. I enjoy
Nothing wrong with
Twitter,
Twitter.
and I use it a lot of times to keep up with sports. Again,
They're
Fucking,
doing
we're
the
Snapchatting right
You
now.
can put a beard on yourself
We got
that has
hipster
hearts in
glasses,
it.
Oh, yeah.
glasses and beards. At Beer Busters.
And I'm sending this to you.
Good Lord.
I don't use
On
the Beer
Instagram.
Busters Snapchat.
At Beer Busters on Twitter, which you should go to. Beer Busters Podcast
Is
on
Vine
Facebook.
still a thing?
No.
No, that's shut
No,
down.
Vine is gone.
What if you tweet on Instagram? Does anyone know?
Can you even do that?
I
Oh
don't
my
know.
God! I
What's
just got a
a tweet?
Snapchat from
No.
Steph Hefner.
No.
What is a
I
tweet?
got to figure this out.
What does it
The
all mean?
Facebook.
What does it all mean?
Yeah.
BeerBustersPodcast.com. We're on
Yep.
Untapped too.
We are.
Toast our check-ins. Everything we drink on the show is checked in.
That is very
It's
true.
it's our record keeping.
It really is.
More or less.
That's how I know what we
It's
have.
for the authorities on the ride home.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I keep
I've
up with
been-
my
I check
family.
in as we go.
Actually,
Jesus.
Legit, I do too.
Patreon.com/BeerBusters.
And but I can't say
Yeah.
on air, but I will after we're done recording.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yeah, the other one, patreon.com/beerbusters.
Yeah, I think we said them all.
We did. Little as $1 a month, you get last call, other things that are in the works. In fact, this last call, there is another coffee-related beer that will be coming up that I can't wait to
It
do.
rhymes with mascara.
Yeah, I guess it does. Look at that. Look at that.
None of the. I'm personally not wearing any. Just for clarification. Yeah.
And for everyone out there in podcast land, do not forget, please rate and review if you can on your podcast app of choice. Not just Beer Busters, any podcast you listen to, because that is the currency of podcasting. Because let's face it, advertisers don't know how to advertise on podcasts yet, even though they've been around for 10 years. But your rating and review, that's going to go far. But unfortunately, this does bring us to the end of another episode of Beer Busters. Guys, thank you so much for having us out here. This was great.
I'm so glad y'all came out.
I am too.
Me too.
Yeah.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
I was kind of hoping you would say that.
We'll leave a light on for
Yes. The beers are great.
Thanks,
Food's great.
Tom Bodette.
Coffee is incredible. The ambience here is just amazing. So again, thank you so much. Well, I am Dan Baker, joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and of course the demented and fermented
you. Wayne Baker.
Remember, no squids were harmed in the making of this episode. And we'll see you next time.
Long pause.
I want my baby juice, baby juice, baby juice, baby juice, baby juice.